Woo! Little Lady Gaga. You can never go wrong, I tell you. So good. All right, you guys, I hope your vibe is raised, that you are coming at this from your goal achieved. Remember, it's like the only way to come at anything in life. Moving forward, up until yesterday, it is the only way to do it. And today we are going to keep diving into the universal laws. And today we are specifically going to talk about the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. So get in state, tap into your higher self, because I can guarantee when you do, you are going to hear exactly what you need to hear in order for you to start taking advantage of this universal law. Okay, so we're talking about the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and like this law is the longest, most scientific law of the universe. Okay, so the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, it goes back to like what we looked at in grade school about energy and how it's all around us. Do you guys remember doing that? Like grade 6, 7. I know we got some teachers in here in the group, right? You guys are probably teaching your kiddos this. Okay, I absolutely remember studying how everything is in motion. Okay, so this law says that that we're all energy, and energy is all around us, right? Everything is energy. Okay, so you can use this law even with the law of vibration. So we've talked about the law of vibration, how everything is in constant motion, right? And you can use it, pair these two up to get maximum results. And we're going to talk about that. So if we break down this law kind of to better understand it. So the word perpetual, okay, means never ending, ultimately. Okay. Transmutation means action, the action of changing state. Okay. And energy, it's everything that's all around us. Okay. So never ending energy that's constantly changing state. So the true definition of the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, if we break it down, is the law of never ending action of changing state of everything around us. So the law of vibration, it shows this, right? Higher vibes consume and change lower vibrations, right? Like you can change people that are in a negative state to a positive state. You can change yourself from a negative state to a positive state. Like you can change. Like we know this. We're not stuck where we're at ever. Although I can think of times in my life where I felt stuck for years, right? But it's that, and if you're in that place right now where you're like, yeah, I feel stuck, you're not ever, because everything's constantly moving from one state to another, everything. Energy can be changed all the time and in endless capacity. So to think you're stuck where you're at, right? Stuck in a job, stuck in a relationship, stuck in friendships, or body or diet or anything else, it's just untrue. You have true capacity to change every single thing in your life by changing the energy around you. So, I mean, we've talked about this. How do you change the energy around you? You change it through your thinking, through your thoughts, like that. This is where we was talking about gratitude all the time, right? It will change you like that every single time. Easy peasy, right? For those of you that are in the middle of a paradigm shift, you're going, I don't know. I got some habitual thoughts in there that aren't really getting me the results I want. But at least you know now where you need to focus. All you need to do is change your thinking. Okay, this is a big one, like all of them, but it's pretty complex, right? This law right here is the reason that thoughts become things. This is it. When we say like catchy phrases like, oh, thoughts are things, this is the law that makes thoughts things. Because fact, we are surrounded by energy and it's always in motion. So what does this actually mean for your rituals? And we talk a lot about manifesting, like how does that actually work? Okay, so because the law of perpetual transmutation of energy declares that energy is constantly moving from one state or another in all things, it doesn't pick or choose. All things means all things, not like, oh, you know, I don't think it really applies to me. No, it does. Universal laws don't care who you are, what age you are, your gender, your sexual orientation, doesn't care. Okay, it applies to everybody. Okay, and all energy, this is a key thing too, it can neither be created or destroyed. That's a key piece. Everything's already created. And even if you think you're destroying something, right? Like, oh, I grew a carrot in my garden. I'm going to leave it out for the deer to eat because they've, no, the deer's going to eat the carrot. It's going to go into its system, get absorbed, right? And then maybe he poops it out, but then it lands on top of a seed or a seed falls in it and it turns into a rose. And then the rose petals eventually fall off and they fly away and they turn into something. Like everything's constantly in motion. So even if we're done with it, it doesn't mean that it's ended, and nothing ever ends. Okay, this is the law that can really help you to, if you are thinking about like spirit, energy, death, like what actually happens. Nothing ever ends, ever. Nothing. No thing ever ends.
Can I share a funny story application of this from this morning?
Yep.
So I've been so focused on my goals and my goal achieved person, right, that I have not been keeping up with like the dusting of things around my house. And my husband has made several comments, wrote like the word help on our dresser last night. So this morning I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like grab my dust mitt and knock it out. Well, for whatever reason, he always says my dust mitt just pushes dust around, right? And so he thinks it's not really dusting. And so I'm finishing the dusting and he was waking up this morning and he's like, you're just pushing dust around. And at first I was going to like argue with him, like, and I was like, yep, you know what? You're right. Because the dust is just going to go from this onto my mitt. It's not created or destroyed. It's just going to go to something that's magnetizing it and, is going to have a different purpose for it. So it was just one of those little, like, you're right. I actually did not remove this dust. The dust is not gone. It is just somewhere else.
That's great. And eventually this mitt will go in the washing machine and the water will take these dust particles down the drain and then they'll go into a stream somewhere and then they'll, right? Like,
yeah. I'm like, yep, you're right. I just moved the dust somewhere else. You're right. I just moved it around. I didn't really dust it.
That's right. We're both right because I dusted.
Yeah, right.
And we both get to be right here.
Exactly.
Dearest, that's awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I said to share. I knew you were talking about this today, so I was like, perfect example.
That is such a good example. Absolutely. And anytime you guys like have stuff like that, like unmute yourself. If even you have an aha moment, like share it. Like we're here to share with each other. Okay. Oh, I love that. So, so when you think like when you like I was just saying, like you get to choose how you're going to use this. So Lissa just beautifully described how, she got to, in a roundabout way, whether her husband cares about universal law or not, that everything is just constantly moving from one state to another, right? But if you think something, that is one state, and then you take action and you start to build it and create it, that's another state, right? And then it's moving, and then maybe someone adds their thought power to it, and that makes it into another state, right? But everything's constantly growing. Everything starts as a thought. So what are you thinking about? And we, in study club this morning, because we're reading psychocybernetics, we were actually talking about how powerful these thoughts are, and how easily it is for us to, like, by default, we think of the things that we don't want. We think of things that didn't turn out the way we wanted them to in the past. Okay. But many people don't realize that everything in the universe is energy, and it's in constant motion. Okay. You can tap into this energy and absolutely transform it into anything that you desire. And once you learn the art of transmuting energy, guys, this is where you become unstoppable. Like, once you really get, just like with anything, it's like riding a bike. You're like, I'm going to transmute this thought into energy. And then you do it. That's manifesting. You can get to the point where you manifest, guys, in like an hour, 30 minutes, like boom, you just make it happen. You're transmuting the energy. Okay. You can use your consciousness to change everything that you want to manifest it. So this energy works to become something physical rather than staying in the ether, in that realm. So when you have a thought or an idea or an emotion, emotional connection, there's energy with your body, and it's moving into physical form. Okay, so this law is the basis, like I said, of the idea that you can transform thoughts into things. And it can be a little challenging to grasp at that thought, but you have to understand you're manifesting stuff all the time. All the time. Okay? Everything that we have created once started out as a thought in our mind. Yet it's a wondrous, beautiful miracle for everyone who lives on this universe, right? Like, your mind, this is why you always hear Bob say, your mind was the greatest gift you were ever given. Because you can work with the universal laws that are already here to get everything that you want. Right? Feelings and thoughts that are in abundance are trying to become real. They're trying, trust me. And it is something that you can eventually like touch, use, and experience. So when people create emotions, the perpetual transmutation of energy, it states that they must result in something physical and material. It has to, by law. By law. Okay, it's not, maybe kind of, sort of. Any seed that is nurtured must come into a physical form by law. So for example, if you are constantly thinking of love and gratitude, okay, it will create a physical, real world experience of enhanced respect and appreciation for everything around you. Okay, it is critical to stay consistent with the thoughts and intentions, right? This is why in lesson 1, we develop a goal. Like, you got to know where you're going. Step 1. And then when you stay consistent with the thoughts and intentions that enter into your mind space, since the universe will create circumstances that you're focused on. And when you waver, waffle, whatever you want to call it, becoming consistent, it is challenging for the universe to develop a solid matter for this. It's like it creates this chaotic or erratic energy. And the universe is going like, stop, like, how am I supposed to create something out of that? I think of like, even if you don't have kids, you've been exposed to them at some point, right? My youngest goes through this, and it's honestly because her mind is just going so fast and she can't get it out, where she's like, okay, so first we're gonna do this, and then, my socks are crooked, and then, okay, then we're gonna go do this, and then, oh, blue car, and then we're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna ride my bike, and then, oh, Izzy's gonna come and do this, and oh, blue water bottle, right? Like she just is all over the map to the point where I'm sitting there trying to listen to what she wants, but I have to like decipher between the blue water bottle, the bike ride, her sister's doing something, the dog just sneezed, and a partridge in a pear tree. Right? Like it's just totally erratic and all over the place, right? That is, but I'm trying to line stuff up for her. I want her to get what she wants, because really, if she doesn't, she'll make sure that I do it again. So try to do it right the first time, right? So this is what the universe is constantly doing to us. Okay, if you desire abundance but feel unworthy, you're sending mixed messages to your subconscious mind. Okay, and eventually you're just going to self-sabotage, because you will always act according to what you believe in your subconscious mind. So to create solid material out of energy, you will need to focus all the abundance in on a positive perspective and realize that you are worthy. Step one. If you're going, oh, I don't know, Dylan, if you knew my story, you wouldn't think I was, then you have some affirmations to do around that. Message me and we'll create them. Okay? But eventually your manifestation is going to be on its way to you. Eventually. It could be like that. It could take a day, a week, a month, a year. Okay? As long as you are consistent, it creates constant energy for the universe when you perform in this way. Okay, when you focus on what you want and just only focus in on that. Something comes in that tries to like take you out, you're like, no, next. Every time you next, not only does it protect your vibration, but it also gives a very clear message to the universe that you mean business when it comes to this goal. You're not messing around. Okay, so regardless of whether it's positive or negative, energy is always manifesting into its physical form. So it's always helpful for you to take the negative energy that you feel and transform it into something positive. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. And this is when you do lesson 2 and 3. This is when we dive into that. Okay, you can use, like, there's different positive techniques, right? So like affirmations, dancing around, listening to great audiobooks or podcasts, right? Like to boost your positive focus, right? But your energy and the vibrations work together and they create order for the universe. Okay, so because change is all there is in the universe. For people that are like, oh, I don't like change, I'm like, oh my gosh, if you only realize that like you're changing right now and you didn't even realize it. Like everything around you is literally moving from one form to another constantly. And you're sitting here hating change, trying to avoid it. Like it's something that you have control over, right? When you understand that simple concept, you'll find that you're not going to fall into traps like wanting things to remain the way they are all the time. That is a trap. Okay, and a lot of people think comfort comes from status quo. You know, comfort comes when things don't change. When I commit myself to like doing this and I just, even if it doesn't bring me joy, I'm just going to keep doing it, consistent. Don't change. When in reality, a lot of the pain that we experience as humans comes from our inability to allow change to happen. So if you're coming at this awareness from a space of, and I know that, guys, this was me. So if I've attracted you in, Maybe it's because we're both recovering control freaks. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I can tell you when you release and surrender and like just let go and allow. I had sticky notes with the word let. Just let it happen. Let it be. Don't quit trying to control it. Put your chart away and try to just let it, right? This is that law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and its relationship with vibrations is captured. And I love the principle where it says, as above, so below, as within, so without, and as the universe, so the soul. Okay, so according to the Hermetic principle, there is a relationship between your vibration and energy. And when you understand this relationship, it becomes easier to allow high vibrational energy to flow to and through you, and to let it just use you and take over, and then make shifts within your reality. So if anybody's not heard of like what it means to raise your vibration based on Hermetics, okay, a lot of people spend their lives just like stuck in the contracted or the alpha state of enlightenment. Okay, so in this state, everything they do comes from emotions, right? And negative emotions, shame, fear, guilt, just ones that don't serve them, even like apathy, pride, grief, constant states. Okay, so try to notice that the energy you send out to the universe is magnified and like reflected back in epic proportions. Okay, so for example, what happens when you want to invest in a business but approach it with a lot of fear? What do you think happens? You're going to come up against obstacles that make you not want to make the investment, and you back out altogether. You will find a reason to be fearful. On the other hand, if you approach the idea with a positive energy and feed it high vibrations, isn't it funny how things just seem to fall into place? Right? When you encounter obstacles, you'll find it easier to see the opportunities for growth, and you won't see the reasons to quit. Okay, the simplest way to raise your vibration is to expand your consciousness with this principle. Okay, expanding your consciousness helps you to embrace courage, willingness, reason, acceptance. Okay, and in this state of mind, it becomes really easy to let the energy flow to and through you. And then guess what? Where that energy is going to go, it's going to go flow through to and through you, and then into others and into everything that you touch. You just have to first adopt non-resistance and truly just become a vessel for this perpetual transmutation of energy. You are a vessel, right? Like I wake up and I'm like, use me. What do you got? I'm here. Right? So how can you use universal laws, specifically one of non-resistance, to help you transmute energy? Okay, so there is a universal law of non-resistance, and it states that what you resist shall always persist. What you resist shall always persist. Okay, it connects to one of the 12 Hermetic laws of karma. Okay, which is the law of change. So the law of change states that a situation will always repeat itself until we learn the lesson that it's there to teach. And we cover this in TIR. If you're not there yet, I won't give it away, but we cover this. The lesson you will get given the lesson over and over and over. It will repeat itself until you learn it. Okay, so you might find people stuck in like negative experiences as they go through like their life or business because they're paying attention to the negative. Right? Or you might find someone scared of failing so that they're not willing to try a new idea. When you give too much energy to resistance and don't allow certain things to happen, everything in your life grinds to a halt. And I bet you can think of a time in your life when this has happened. Right? Whereas in contrast, when you feel the possibility of like winning at whatever you start, the universe opens up those energy portals so that you're winning at everything you start. And then success flows to and through you and then through onto others. Okay, so I want to give you guys some guidelines that can help you use this law of non-resistance to attract in positive energy. Okay. I want you to make sure that you are turning away from all harmful thoughts, all those non-productive thoughts, because all they're doing is distracting you from your purpose. And as they sneak in, and they'll always sneak in, you have to decide that you don't entertain them. Remember, your conscious mind can accept or reject. Your subconscious only accepts. So when something comes in, you have to decide, reject. And it's a decision. I've had to make it like 3 times already today. Reject. Okay. And when something comes up that doesn't go the way you thought it was going to be, like don't dwell on it. Because if you're looking at the problem, you can't see the solution. When you nurture a problem-solving mindset, you will easily create the reality that you want, regardless of what's going on outside. Okay, but it's a decision that you have to make every single day. Really listen to your thinking patterns. Okay, when you get around certain people, do you start thinking differently? When you get in certain circumstances, certain environments, you start thinking differently. You want to get to the point where you are thinking consistently, regardless of who's there, what's happening in the world, what government's in power. Like, it doesn't matter. Your thinking does not change. Okay, because the response that you offer to situations is what determines your outcome. So train yourself to respond as opposed to react. You will maintain your power and you will find that you run into fewer problems. So how can you use this law of perpetual transmutation of energy to manifest abundance? It's one of the number 1 questions I get. Okay, so I'm thinking about money. How do I get it? Okay, your subconscious mind is where all the work of changing or transmuting thoughts into tangible results happens. So to access everything the subconscious mind has to offer, you have to train it to align with your intentions. Okay, so the same thing applies to manifest money. For instance, we often have conflicts in our mind when it comes to money. On one hand, your conscious might be thinking that you can build a massive business and manifest money. And on the other hand, your subconscious mind is doubting your ability to do anything. Who are you to think you could do that? Right? So you have these conflicts, these mixed signals, these mixed energies that are then sent out to the universe. And this is what slows down the progress. You think, oh my gosh, if I just do this, 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 and this, and stay consistent, just like Dylan said and Bob said, I read it in Think and Grow Rich. If I just stay persistent, I'm gonna be there in like a year. This is gonna be great. But remember, your subconscious mind, your paradigm, your self-image, that programming runs deep, and it runs through every single cell of your body. So if you have thoughts about money that aren't serving you, thoughts about yourself, your abilities that aren't serving you, that's actually what's going to show up. That's what you're going to attract in. This is why by lesson 9, we're getting into praxis. So praxis meaning aligning your beliefs with your behaviors, right? You're going to develop a whole new belief system, and then you got to get it all into alignment. And you can train your subconscious mind, right? So start training that sub. The universal law states that to change something, you have to start by accepting it. Got to meet yourself where you're at. Accept where you're at. Say, I'm here. You have to know where you are. Okay, the experiences that we go through from childhood to adulthood these are the ones that are determining our view on everything. Okay, and it's impossible to wake up one day and embrace a positive mindset if you grew up feeling worthless. You have to program worthiness into your sub. And this is where getting yourself into the environment that's conducive to the unfoldment of your goal is crucial, right? Giving positivity, feeling positivity. Focus on what makes you happy, right? To avoid self-sabotage, really focus on what you've always done well. You have lots of things. We talked about that this morning in study club too. You have lots of things in your past that you've totally rocked. You're just not acknowledging them. If you focus on them, you'll start to attract in more circumstances where you're rocking life. Okay, so if you are going to attract in, even say money, okay, you have to start thinking about it in a way that welcomes it in, because it's just energy too. It's in a perpetual state of change. That's why it's not just dollar bills. That's why I can tap a card, I can e-transfer, I can PayPal, I can, right? It's just energy. And it's meant to constantly be in motion. So don't make your goal, oh, I want $1 million to just sit in my bank account. It's meant to be in circulation. We're going to talk about the law of compensation and what money looks like on another day, but it's meant to be in circulation. Okay, have you ever watched how and I'm sure you know some really wealthy people, have you ever watched how they operate? Have you noticed that they're often also the most charitable people? They can be, because they know how to manifest wealth, right? The secret to manifesting money that is really common among these people is that money is not a commodity to hoard. Money is free flowing energy from the universe. Okay, don't make yourself a container to manifest money and then just like put the lid on the container, stick it under your mattress, and have yourself a day. Because the universe will soon turn off the taps of that faucet because you create an imbalance. And on the other hand, right, now that you understand universal laws, they say that money and wealth are a free flowing commodity, right? The taps of the universe stay on, allowing you to easily manifest money. Yes, I said easily. Even if in your past you're like, I don't know, Dylan, hasn't really seemed that easy. It can be. Okay, so when you're starting a business, think of how it can be a blessing or a source of abundance for others. Right? So if even you're starting a restaurant, okay, think about people, like getting people to enjoy healthy food, that you're creating employment and feeding those maybe that can't afford a meal. Okay, create a setup where you manifest money or wealth and it's flowing through you to other people. Okay, and this is what keeps everything in balance. And guys, you'll just notice that the gates, so floodgates open up and it just starts pouring in. Okay, and it's not about ego. Okay, ego is the social mask that we wear. It's the conditioning that we have from our childhood experiences and our interactions with society, right? But ego shows us examples of good and evil. Right? Because of this, we feel we have to hide our weaknesses in order to win. What I'm saying is that this lack of authenticity, this is what leads to a disconnection between yourself and the reality that you're working with to manifest. When you are operating from your ego, you are disconnected from inspired action. Okay, then you make the calculated moves to bring out the best outcome when manifesting. But usually, this is not what helps to manifest money at all. So, for example, I saw an interview the other day with Elon Musk's college roommate. Okay. And he was asked what he thinks makes Elon Musk so successful at manifesting wealth. At like, everything he touches turns to gold, right? Like, what makes this possible? And he said that Elon rarely thinks about what others have to say about what he's doing. He's the kind of person that focuses on what he wants to achieve and only stops when it's accomplished. He doesn't do it because he'll get a pat on the back and like, good job, buddy, you did it again, right? He works because he loves what he does. Like, let's not kid ourselves. He could have stopped working a long time ago, but he doesn't stop because he loves what he does. Okay, transcending ego means dropping all the conditioning on what society says should be a successful life. And as you drop this fear conditioning, your vibration then goes up, right? And a higher vibration enables you to just infuse this positive energy into your transmutation of the creative process. So really take a look, like, is your ego blocking you from being in alignment with the law of perpetual transmutation of energy? Okay, there are a number of ways you can tell when your ego is blocking you from allowing the energy to flow through you and to transmute. First is like lack of gratitude. right? If you find yourself complaining about all the little things that go wrong in the process, you can be sure your ego's at play, for sure. Okay, a lack of gratitude blocks you from seeing the good things that happened. You can't even see them, even if they're all around you. And it just creates this disconnect between you and those around you. And then people sense your inauthenticity and they're kind of like, I'm just going to keep you out there. Not really interested. Overthinking will do it too. Overthinking. Did you know that some people spend an hour deciding what color of towels, they need in their bathroom, or like an hour deciding what tablecloth to put on the kitchen table? Okay. Just no overthinking. Make a decision. I always start, because I was queen of overthinking before, up until yesterday. So I say I do now. If I have to make a decision, in my mind, I go 3, 2, 1, and I decide. And whatever I decide, I stick with. Because I'm making that decision based on my current level of awareness. And that's it. 3, 2, 1. That's the amount of time I get. So even in the morning, so like this morning, last night I was up. It was like Izzy kept having low sugars all night. Okay. It was like a 5 juice box night. So I was up like every hour and a half having to give her a juice box because her alarm was going off because her sugars were going so low. Right. So by the time 5 a.m. came, I was like, ugh. But my goal is what gets me out of bed, right? Like, that's how big it is. It gets me out of bed in the morning, right? But I literally had to say like 3, 2, 1, and then like decide, because I was either going to hit snooze or I was going to decide to get up out of bed. I decided to get up out of bed. Everything's a decision. Okay. Also pay attention, and there's a reason why in this book, there's an entire chapter on sexual transmutation of energy. And there is a number of examples in here. So this is chapter 11, the mystery of sex transmutation. It's not really a mystery when you think about it. You actually think about it. Okay. There's so many examples of people that have used their sexual energy and transmuted it into their desire. Okay. If you think carefully about sexual energy, it is the single most potent force in the universe. So powerful that this energy can bring a soul from another dimension into ours. Okay, most successful people hold the premise that if they want to be truly successful, you have to learn how to control your sexual energy. And once you have control over this energy, you can then transmute it into other forms of creativity. Okay, so those who really master this law of perpetual transmutation have a really easy time manifesting anything into reality that they want for themselves. And again, that's why out of all the things that Napoleon Hill could have wrote about, he dedicated an entire chapter to it. In this book, he says that sex desire is the most powerful of all human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. It's so strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge in it. And when harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all the attributes of keenness of imagination and courage, which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. Okay, Steve Jobs, who was the late founder of Apple, and even Muhammad Ali have like huge reputations, right? Like huge lifetime achievements, okay, both of them. And something they have in common is how they practiced what's called semen retention. Okay, so Steve Jobs believed that by releasing his sexual energies, he let go of a lot of energy he needed to be creative. On the other hand, Muhammad Ali didn't engage in sexual activity for up to 6 weeks before a match because he believed that by refusing to participate in sex, he was conserving energy and vital nutrients. So according to Muhammad Ali, when he engages in sexual activity, he releases too much tension and it takes away from his zest to win. Okay. Another example, Nikola Tesla thought that a scientist should not marry because that would give up too much of his energy to women. He believed that one's creativity remained at its highest when there were no distractions of a sexual nature. And then you've got people like Kanye West. Actually, I saw somebody do a post of him the other day. There's something about that guy I can't stand, but he was talking about releasing sexual energy and how he went literally from bankruptcy to billionaire within 24 months. And he talks about how it was harnessing this energy. He believes that if you can control your sexual urges and focus that time and effort on other creative endeavors, that this is what can bring you success. There's another really great book that Bob and I talk about all the time, The Science of Getting Rich. It's by Wallace D. Wattles. And he says, you need to nurture a healthy body, mind, and soul to manifest wealth. Okay, so the primary source of creation is your thoughts. So the science of getting rich involves your attitude and turning these ideas into reality. He says, focus on what you want and pay little attention to other people. Stay in the present and in harmony with the universe. Use your talents and inner inspiration to grow and help others do the same. And that is how the law of perpetual transmutation of energy works. Right? It talks about actions, thoughts, and words. And taking responsibility for those things and what we are putting out there. When you think about your actions, okay, the most essential way to change your current results and begin to manifest whatever you want in life is by taking action every single day. Right? Without taking action towards your purpose and your goals, the energy won't manifest your vision. Right? We're not going to do that from the couch watching Netflix. Right? Even if you desire to be, I actually had a client who's an actor and he's just like, well, when I watch Netflix, like I'm watching the art. And I'm like, yeah, but you're watching somebody else live their dream, being in those movies. Your goal is for you to be in there. You need to get off of the couch to do that. Right? The best way to transform your energy to receive what you desire is to take massive action. Okay? And we know action is controlled initially by our thoughts. Okay, like you have like 80,000 thoughts every single day. 90% of them are repeated day after day after day. They're habitual. Okay, if you don't remove negative thoughts that are controlling your life, you can guarantee they're just going to repeat every single day. Thoughts are things. And also pay attention to the words that you use, because they don't only impact others, but every time you use them, they imprint on your subconscious mind. So if you're using words like scarcity, lack, self-doubt, inferiority, okay, your subconscious mind accepts that's your reality. Okay, your energy is vibrating low, and you will attract those words into your physical existence. So this is why I say you cannot have your goal to get out of debt, because your subconscious mind just hears debt. And it's going to attract more of it in. You can easily do this to transmit any of your thoughts. Okay? The universal laws to manifest, whether it's money, health, business, relationships, whatever it is, are right at your fingertips. Okay, so this law of perpetual transmutation of energy has been used throughout history to like everything that we have. The computer we're talking on, the phone, Zoom, Facebook, these were all part of someone's thoughts, and they transmuted them into energy. Some of the like coolest things that have ever been invented. My daughter's insulin pump. This month's Diabetes Awareness Month, right? And everybody's like part of so many communities, right? Where someone posted yesterday what the original insulin pump looked like. And it was like, he was wearing it on like a backpack, right? And now Izzy's got this little thing that she wears on her hip, and it talks to the thing she wears on her arm that's testing her sugar all the time. They're talking to each other, and it's so cool. Someone thought of that. Like, how cool is that? Right? It's also helped the most creative humans make the most beautiful art and music, architectural design, right? Create lives that they love. Okay, so out of all the universal laws, it's this law that transforms ideas and thoughts into tangible things in the physical realm. It's the secret to science, the science of getting rich, about manifesting money and business and success and love and everything else you're looking for. Okay, so to apply it correctly, you need to understand that you are the only one with the ability to manifest for you. Nobody can manifest for you. But what humans can get in the habit of is blaming when things don't go the right way, and then taking credit for things that do. You get to take credit for it all. And when something manifests into my life, I'm not like congratulating Dave or blaming Dave, depending on if I like it or not, right? For doing it, it's mine. Right? How can we successfully transmute the creations within our minds into the most incredible physical world products? You have something in the deep reservoirs of your existence that's just waiting to get out. And it could be simple. You just have to learn how to starve negative energies and feed positive. Remember, everything is energy in this universe. Okay, kind of like a maze. You have to navigate it and understand the laws. Okay, one of the biggest, most profound and helpful laws to understand this law of perpetual transmutation. Okay, keep in mind that you are in control of your world, and you can switch up how things manifest into your life by changing how you think about them. because either way, that energy is flowing to and through you. Okay, receive and release how to allow this to be effortless. Like, believe it can be effortless. Anybody that's on live, do you have questions about this? Aha moments. Looking on Facebook. Hey there, over there. Love it.
I love the whole idea that you're never stuck, you know, that it's just, it's always a choice, and, you know, and just changing our state and changing our thoughts, and that can totally change everything. And I mean, I've been seeing so many things coming in, and it's not that there weren't things in my life before we started doing all of this, but I'm much more aware of it and able to discern, yep, this is moving me towards that, or this is not. And, you know, kind of have those healthy boundaries around it. And I know you didn't get into it, and so I'm guessing it's probably part of the law of compensation, but the whole idea of when you're talking about, you know, everything just, you know, the transmutation of energy. And like when we set our goals, like what's been really impactful for me is how you showed us how to say in exchange for, because up until yesterday, I was just setting goals of, you know, I'm so happy and grateful that boom, you know, like whatever it was that I wanted, never really even thinking about the fact, not that I didn't have a part in it, but like that this is like a transfer of, you know, energy, and the things that I'm doing then are manifesting this. And so how that ties in there. And I've shared that with several people I just had a lady message me while we were on this webinar, like, what were your things again? Like, what did you say? And, you know, because I was explaining to her the difference that makes in setting a goal, because it's that transfer of energy.
That's right. You have to transfer the energy. There's no such thing as getting something for nothing, ever, right? And as humans, we get into exchanging energy. Oh, I'll give you this if you give me this, but you can't go into it as an exchange. You give in that you just give, expect nothing, but trust and know that there's an energy exchange happening, right? So this is where people can feel stuck if over an extended period of time, they're reliant on somebody else for their existence, right? Like this is where, like we're not meant to be dependent for our existence on anybody else, because that's why we all have access to the same energy.
Yeah. And that's why he talks about in lesson 1, it's about increasing your level of service. It's about increasing the amount that you are giving out, not, like you said, waiting and expecting that other people are going to just give to us.
That's right.
For no reason.
That's right. Because it's not up to us where the energy comes from. You just have to have faith that the universe is working in the background, bringing it all together, right? So as long as you're giving out consistent messaging, it's going to keep working for you, right? But if you then start entertaining these like consistently, right? It's going to happen where those thoughts are going to pop in, but it's like we have to train our subconscious to reject our conscious mind, right? Like don't even let it. Picture these little guards. Like picture the stick person and these little guards that are like standing at the gates of your subconscious mind, and they just get stronger and stronger. So that as the energy is running to and through you, you're just out there like serving, giving stuff in exchange. You're not trading though. Like we get into trading's not the same. Love it.
Yeah, that's why and people say, you know, it's 50-50 or like a marriage is 50-50. And it's not, because if you're waiting for that other person to give you that 50%.
No, it's 100. Absolutely. Right. And each person has to be giving their 100. They have to be giving their 100 to themselves and to the relationship. And that's what creates it all. Yeah. So cool. I love it. Thanks for bringing that one up. That's a good example. Really good example. Love it. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining in on the perpetual transmutation of energy. That was a mouthful. I don't know how many times say that 3 times fast. Love it. Have an awesome day, you guys. See you.